welcome to episode 4 of my trip on the Cape Wrath Trail. Those of you who were kind enough to watch episode 3 to the finish will know that it ended rather abruptly at Oykel Bridge when my resupply parcel didn't arrive, and so I just couldn't continue and I had to abandon the journey there and then. That was in May this year, so it's now September and I've returned determined to try and complete it. So I'm back at Oykel Bridge where I was 4 or 5 months ago. There's the lovely scene here with the Oykel River gushing along in the old bridge. I'm standing on the newer bridge. So I travelled up yesterday from Manchester to Inverness by plane and stayed overnight in Inverness, caught the 7 o'clock train from Inverness to Lairg this morning. Nice friendly taxi driver brought me over, and so it's about 9:20 in the morning, and I hope in 6 days time I'm planning on getting to Cape Wrath. It's a fairly gentle timetable because tomorrow and the day after, according to the guidebook, are 2 of the toughest days on the trail, so I've set myself fairly low targets. I think one of my slight mistakes on the previous section was to be a bit too ambitious. I ended up walking till 9 o'clock at night, getting a bit tired, made some silly navigational errors. So I'm hoping this will all be a bit calmer, a bit more relaxed and a bit more enjoyable in that way. Looking down the river this way, just to give you, that's the direction from which I walked previously, and the hotel is just around the corner, just out of sight there. Of course, coming in September I won't be able to walk till 9 o'clock at night because the days are a lot shorter. Previously I could walk till 9 at night and still have ample daylight. I think at this time of the year I'll be having to finish by 6:30 at the latest. So the plan for today is to it should be a fairly easy day, I hope. It's a path, most of it is sort of a path, 4x4 track, following the River Oykel, going north on its right hand bank. So I'm hoping to get a fairly good day in today, get some good mileage in, which will give me a foundation for the next couple of days, which are shorter planned days. Let's get going. I've been walking nearly 2 hours now, and it's turned into a lovely morning. The early morning, slight drizzle, overcast, a little bit nippy. It's all lifted and the sun has come out. It's gone in just for this minute, but it's much brighter, and it's very easy walking along a nice path here, this 4x4 track, as you can see, gently uphill, and it's snaking along the Oykel River here, which is just wonderful. Lovely seat down there to sit on and look at it, and then over this bridge we're going, and we're heading on along the side of the river. So everything's going well so far, touch wood, and making good progress along this path. So hopefully I'll achieve my objectives for this evening, which is to get up beyond Glendhu Lodge and a bit further than that, and camp for the night below where it starts getting steeper. Anyway, a long way to go yet, another 6 hours or something. I've arrived at Loch Nid, which is the source of the River Oykel, and it's just so peaceful and tranquil. As you can see, there's barely any wind, there's just a few little ripples on the surface of the water. but otherwise just tranquility. So I stopped on this nice little beach here, and I'm having a spot of lunch. That's my burner there, my stove cooking up, and my food and stuff is out. And because it's so still and peaceful, I don't have to worry about things blowing away. So I've had a good morning's walk. It's been it's almost exactly 4 hours since I set off from Oykel Bridge, and the walking's really been very comfortable, even a little bit boring in that it's been along 4x4 forestry roads pretty well all the way, but it did mean that I could make good progress along. It feels a little as though it's clouding up and there might be rain in the air, so I may have had the best of the day, but certainly this is a beautiful spot. So here's my spot for the night. Not bad, eh? There's the little tent on reasonably level ground, right by this waterfall coming down here, heading down to the Oykel River way down below there. Just zoom in on, there's the river meandering its way along, and then if we look up the far side, that's the view across the valley. So I've had a good day today, got the tent up, got here at 5:30, it's 6 o'clock now, still got enough daylight, clouds on the top of the hills up there. Had a bit of rain today, but nothing serious, not for Scotland, just slightly irritating to get the waterproofs on and then off again, but overall can't complain. Had a good day, got to exactly where I want, indeed a little bit beyond, so ready for tomorrow, which is going to be a hard day. Speak to you when I'm inside my tent. I'm into my tent now and pretty well sorted. I'm just about to eat. This is tonight's meal. Real termat are my absolute favourites. They're quite expensive, but I think for a trip like this they're worth it. It's not that many nights, and what I always tell myself is, well, the accommodation is free, so if I spend £8 or £9 on an evening meal, that's not too bad. So it's creamy salmon with pasta, and then that'll be followed by a cup of coffee. So here's my tent. There's a sleeping bag just opening out. It's a down one, so it has to puff up, so I've taken it out of its stuff sack. There's my cooking stove, which I've just turned off. Various other bits and bobs around the tent, which, if anyone's interested, is a big Agnes Tiger Wall 2. It's a two-person tent, which gives me more room. So it's got 2 doors, 2 vestibules, there's one, there's the other, and a little bit of wind, but it's dry at the moment. So I'll be having my meal, getting to bed, have an early night, early start, and tomorrow, I've just read the guidebook, looks like a tough day. This was the route for today. Started here at Oykel Bridge, having travelled by the taxi from Leg, then followed this very nice 4x4 track gently uphill following the Oykel River. Lovely walking up here, and at this point there's a slight choice. The guidebook says continue a bit further along and then go up there. That's Salaki. The Harvey map shows it going up there and along, but in fact what you can do is just go up to there and then follow this nice Forestry Commission 4x4 track, which makes for easy uphill walking and cuts a corner off, and then you pick up this nice track again, still all the way up here, up to Loch Nid, there, and then it continues round Benmore Lodge, on up here, over a bridge, and then sort of around here the 4x4 track peters out and it becomes a less distinct track which you follow roughly along the contour. Still lovely walking country up here, and the path certainly becomes less distinct, but you can follow it along here. And then that's where I spent the night, this waterfall coming down here, and I spent it just there. Good morning, start of day 2. Dull, but not raining, so that's good. It was quite chilly in the night. Had to put some extra clothing on, but then I was warm enough. Struggled a bit with my new mattress. I've got an inflatable one, whereas before I had a self-inflating. Got the inflatable because it's quite a lot lighter and a lot smaller, so that makes sense for packing. But gosh, it's slippery and slidey, slide all over the place. So I may have to work out some way of stabilising that. Anyway, I've had a little bit of breakfast, cup of tea, packed up. It's 10 to 8 in the morning. Just show you the view around my site here, where I was sleeping last night, accompanied by the constant sound of the running water, but that's no problem. It's quite relaxing and lulling. There's down into the valley down below, and the river snaking its way along the bottom there. So today is quite a hard day, I think, and tomorrow, so I've been fairly modest in my mileages. Otherwise everything's going well. Good night, good day yesterday, so looking forward to today. And there's my site, that's where I was camping, just to show that it's leave no trace. There's my poles, so I'll be picking those up in just a second, but apart from my walking poles, there's nothing left there at all. I've been going a couple of hours now, and I've reached the Bealach at the end of Glen Oykel, and this is the view north from the Bealach, heading down towards Inch de Camp. So it was quite a tough climb up, but not the hardest bit on the trail, not too boggy. I don't think it's been raining too much recently. So we're now heading down there. The weather is almost trying to get sunny. It's trying to come out, the sun, I think. So we'll see. So the plan is down to Inch de Camp, maybe stop there for a bit of a coffee, not in the town, but just to make one myself. And then we're heading on to another tough bit, but I'm not going to do it all in one day. Heading up there, see how far I get, find a nice place to camp and spend the night there. Well, no prizes for guessing what's happened. Coming down from the Bealach, we'll cross this rough, boggy terrain where there's no really clear path. Absolute plagues of insects. I'm not sure they were midges, actually. They seemed a little bit bigger. They were still tiny wee beasties, but I'm not sure they were midges. Anyway, I plastered myself with insect repellent. That did no good at all, and so they were driving me insane. Had to stop and get the midgie net out. I've stopped just outside Inch de Camp, I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm not going in there. The guidebook says there's nothing much there. I don't need to try and get anything. So I'm down at this river, which is delightful. The walking I've just done over the last day and a half through Glen Oykel is some of the most magnificent walking, mountain walking that I've ever done. Absolutely stunning, beautiful, and the walking challenging in places, but not so strenuous that it spoils the enjoyment. So after this, I'm heading up there. And it's supposed to be a tough section. So I've just had my lunch break here. Bit of a mess it looks, but eaten. So thought I might just mention a couple of bits of gear that people are interested. I mentioned this on a previous episode, but it's in case anyone didn't see it. Really useful, I think. Weighs absolutely nothing, polystyrene foam or something, and you just sit on it, carry it around in the outside pocket so I can get it out as soon as I stop. Pop it down on a rock, it stops you bottom getting sore. On wet grass, stops you getting wet. In the tent you can kneel on it. So very pleased with that. And I've changed my water filter system since the last post in May. Before I had the Soya Mini. A couple of problems with that. The main one was its flow rate is terribly slow, but also the bag that you have to fill to attach to it really doesn't work. It's sort of the sides cling to each other, so you put it in flowing water and it doesn't fill with water. And so much so that I found on the previous trip I was sometimes just not bothering to filter, just drinking unfiltered water and taking a chance, or drinking less than I should because I was trying to conserve my water and didn't want to have to bother with filtering again. So I've now gone over to the Catadin Be-Free, and it's transformed my life. This is it. So I've got rid of my normal water bottle. This is the water bottle I carry, and it's easy to fill up because it's a sort of floppy type of bottle there, and the filter is just in the top there, if I can get that off. There's the filter. So you fill the bottle, pop the filter in, and the flow rate is just as good as a normal drinking bottle. So you can just fill it whenever you want and just drink straight from the bottle. So I'll pack up now and set off up there for a strenuous session, I think, and go through until about 6 o'clock at night. It didn't get dark last night quite as early as I'd thought. It was probably nearer 7 o'clock before it was dark, but I don't think I want to walk that late. Right, well, I found a spot to camp by a loch, but it's not ideal. The ground here is very marshy, but I got my tent up there, and this is a beautiful setting, but the reason I could get it up there without being waterlogged is that this little bit is really quite stony and rocky, and the pegs only go in about ½ an inch, so it means it's dry-ish, but also I hope there's not too many strong winds tonight. But it is a beautiful setting, and I didn't want to continue. The route continues on up there, and as you can see the cloud is very low and it's a long steep climb up to a Belach, so I'll save that one for the morning. So the time is 20 to 6, so quite an early night. I'll get my tent sorted out and then have something to eat, a lighter meal. I had my main meal at lunchtime, and then get to bed. This was today's walk, so starting this morning from just by that waterfall on the path here along, and then you have to be a little bit careful here. I made a slight error and carried on along this very clear path, but actually that's bending round going the wrong way. You need to take a left over here and really continue, and this is then going uphill, up and up, steep rough ground up to the Belach, and then you start going down the other side, which again there's no clear path, it's rough and boggy. This is where I got attacked by the flies and had to put my head net on. Cross over the river, and then it's still a pretty rough boggy sort of path all the way along here, heading down. You can see it in the distance to Nort-western, but I didn't bother to go in that last bit, there's no real need. Stopped for lunch here by a river, lovely spot, and then you need to take this path up here. The guidebook says it's clear. I'd say it's pretty hard to find. It's actually quite a small one until you get on it, and then once you're on it, I agree, it's clear. And that starts going again up, up, up here, and then that's where I stopped for the night, right by this loch. Bit boggy, but just right by this river, so that's the exact spot where I spent the night. Good morning, day 3. I'm up and on my way. I've been going about half an hour. I was I stopped about 3 kilometres short of my planned destination yesterday. I got to that lovely loch that I showed you in the previous clip, where I spent the night, and the next stage is what I'm on now, which is a long steepish ascent up to a belach, and then a sort of long and difficult descent. And it was 5:20 when I got to the loch, and the weather was pretty dank, so overall I thought I'm spending the night there, but that means I'm a little bit behind my planned schedule, so hence the early start. Alarm for 6, away at 7:20, on the go. Weather's good. It rained in the night a bit, I heard it, but it's not raining now, and there's not much wind at all. And the scenery around here is just the most stunning that I've been walking in at all. It really is. Let's just zoom in a bit on some of it. As far as one can see, there's just hill after hill after hill. The tops still just shrouded in cloud over there, but generally the cloud is clearing now, and it's completely peaceful. In the spring I'm accompanied by the cuckoo, the call of the cuckoos, pretty well all the way. But they've stopped in the autumn. There's no other bird sound, no other animal sound. I've not met a single other walker on the trail, just a very few people close to Inch-na-Damf. And it's complete solitude. It's big, big country as far as the eye can see. So I just hope the weather stays good. There's some pretty threatening looking clouds up there, but for the moment we're okay. First deer of the holiday, up there on the skyline. There they are. I've had to zoom in a long way, and that's why it's a bit wobbly. There they are, heading off now. Just caught them in time. So I've made it up to the top of the belach. It's quite windy up here, as you can probably hear. It wasn't too bad ascent at all, a bit rocky and stony at the end. And then you come to the top, and the view that greets you is just amazing. Look at that if I turn it around. There. There's a high up loch over there. I'm no geographer, so I don't know what sort of feature that's called, but then below it there is a sheer cliff face, rock face there, and all the way along there is a sort of like the Grand Canyon, it reminds me of, and then the backdrop, hill after hill after hill, fading into the distance, up into the clouds. Just a quite astonishing scene that meets you as you get to the edge here. I'm down from the belach at the top there. It certainly is tricky. It's very muddy, quite steep, rocky, potholes. I had a couple of slips onto my bum, but doable. It's taken me 2 hours down. Take it slowly, take it gently, and down to this river at the bottom here, which is just, the scenery continues to be just quite magnificent. And I've got to cross the river, so I think this is my planned crossing point. It looks like people have done it here before, but I wouldn't want to do it in spate, which is what the guidebook says it can be difficult. I met my first other walker, Cape Roth trail walker, lady from Germany, and she was doing it north to south, so we crossed paths. She's hoping to do it in 15 days in total, but she's not sure if she's got time. There's shorter days at this time of the year. Lots of little frogs jumping around on the path in front of me. A few flies attacking me again, but not nearly as bad as yesterday. So it's on down here to Glendhu Bothy. I'll have a bite of lunch there and then hopefully press on to Glendhu. This is Glendhu Bothy. Got here at about 1:15. Lovely setting, as you can see, overlooking Loch Glendhu, same name, and absolutely no one here at all. So I'm having a spot of lunch inside the bothy, just made a meal for myself, and just showing you the surrounding scenery, which, as everything has been along here, is just stunning. The walk down here from that direction along the river from that crossing that I showed you in the last clip was an absolute nightmare. It says in the guidebook it's rough and boggy, and it really is rough, boggy, uneven, hardly any path to follow. So a good sort of couple of hours coming along there, which was quite exhausting. But anyway, I'm still going to press on. I'm not stopping here. I'm having my lunch, be done by hopefully 2 o'clock, and then the route I'm taking goes a bit further along there. No, I can't see where the path is, to Glendhu Bothy, but it's not flat. It's, I think, another rough path, and it goes up and over 200 or 300 metres of ascent and descent. So although it's not very far, it's only 6 kilometres away, it will probably be a good 3 hours. This is Glendhu Bothy, my spot for the night, and there's the lovely view from the bothy. I've walked along the far side of the water there, right the way down to the end, and then back here to the bothy. It was a long and arduous trek along there. It's not a flat one at all. I had hoped to press on a bit beyond this bothy for the night, but by the time I got here it was again about 5:30, and I was feeling quite tired, so staying here the night. So it'll be another early start in the morning to press on. 2 other chaps here in the bothy, very friendly, had a nice chat. It was actually quite nice to talk to people. They're the first ones, apart from one German lady I passed on the trail today. They're the only people I've had a proper chat to for 3 days. So here's today's route. That's where I spent last night, by this loch, and then it's continue on uphill, heading up towards the Belak. That took about an hour and a half up to there, and the views when you get to the top across there are just stunning, really worth it. And then you start this ziggy-zaggy path down here. This is about where I passed the German lady heading north to south, round various lochans, and then down this steep descent, no clear path, down to the river, find a place to cross the river, and then really a horrible rough walk all the way along here until you get to the Glendhu bothy. That's where I spent lunch, and I decided to press on. And then this path is fairly clear, but it's uphill, and then again it deteriorates and becomes really very hard walking, rough, boggy, uneven, and it continues all the way down. It never lets you up until you get right to here. You go around the end of the loch, and there's Glendhu bothy, where I spent the night.